The Regional Jobs Initiative is a really innovative project that got started about 6 years ago that brought together the private sector and the local government really in a way that had never happened before in the Fresno area. And the whole purpose of it was to make sure that the public sector was aligning its resources to support the success of the private sector. And we just hadn't seen that kind of coordination in the past. And its goal started off as a numerical job creation goal, 30,000 net new jobs within a 5-year period. But really beyond that, the whole idea was, we have very, very sparse resources these days in the public sector. Whatever we're doing there, let's make sure we're doing it in such a way to support the growth of the private sector.
The RJI's probably biggest asset and biggest achievement has been the fact that it has created the ability for companies to communicate with each other. And it has also brought organizations such as the Economic Development Corporation, the Fresno Regional Workforce Investment Board, the County of Fresno's Social Services Department, or just the county in general, whether it be the Fresno Business Council, Fresno State, the Water Technology Center, the Central Valley Business Incubator, the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. We have brought so many organizations for the first time together to work toward common goals and visions than ever before. And I've been here a long time, okay? And it has never functioned better.
The RJI increases jobs by a rather unique way. Instead of just throwing a bunch of money, which has been tried in the past, the RJI gets industry clusters together, working together, and through that method of working together, for some reason, and it makes sense, that by collaborating, the industry itself becomes stronger, and therefore more people are needed.
This is a free resource to the companies, and they're being given information that might cost them a lot of money someplace else, or working with a consultant or something.
We're lots of small companies that initially just viewed somebody else in the same business in Fresno as their competitor, that by networking with those people, they have been able to position themselves to compete globally against much larger companies. Even with the economy being down, if you take surveys of businesses and would ask employers what is the most serious issue that you face in a good economy and a bad economy, the leading issue is finding qualified workers.
There was a company that was having a hard time with the training that a welding student was receiving in one of the community colleges. That company tried to address it with the school, but wasn't getting a good audience. Once we brought the cluster and we said there's 35 companies that want to come see the chancellor and talk about their training programs, then we got their attention.
We're working with Clovis Unified School District, their construction technology program. We're also working with several different Fresno Unified School District programs and Fresno State's construction technology program.
The development of the water technology cluster is a great example of how everyone can work together to advance this effort. And that cluster has developed and resulted in the Water and Energy Technology Incubator on the Fresno State campus. It's created expanded facilities to certify water technology products and really allowed to advance the area's efforts in claiming water technology as one of our critical economic development factors in this region.
If you're interested in the greater water industry in the United States, or for that matter all over the world, you come to our quarterly meetings because new innovations are talked about and new technologies are talked about you wouldn't otherwise get a chance to hear about.
We are very fortunate to have received the over $29 million gift from the Jordan family for research and developing a research building. These facilities will allow us to have dedicated space to create a research environment where people from different disciplines and different departments can come together and solve problems.
We have the largest winery in the world in Fresno. We have the people that make the machinery that go into that factory here in Fresno. We have all these various entities that feed into that supply system. We also manufacture grape harvesters here in Fresno. All these things provide jobs for Fresno. These are all industries that are associated with agriculture.
The process cluster tied Wawona Frozen Foods together with Fresno State, who came in and did a audit of our process water, and in doing so has developed and now is patent pending a new process for us in peeling peaches.
Water quality and water conservation are big big interest of the food processing cluster, and we've been able to work with some of our researchers at Fresno State to reduce by 80% the amount of water being used in a local food processing plant. So that's huge. It reduced, I think, $500,000 of cost a year.
As other companies have seen how this process has worked, they are now approaching us and asking us to look at their industry or their processing plants and help them design similar innovations.
Our strategy really is to partner with our associations to understand what resources are already available in the community and then tap into those resources. I know that one of the main focuses is really showing it's a construction community. It's not just the construction industry, but what are all the different spokes that really support this industry.
The number of businesses that are tied to construction are huge. You've got engineering firms, you have title companies. People don't see that. It's not direct, but the impacts are that filter throughout the economy are huge.
The ARA event really turned into a joint cluster event. I had been working with our clean energy cluster and our construction cluster, and both clusters were very interested in learning more about what types of funding was going to be coming and who was going to be receiving this funding. So I did some research. I went out and talked with many different municipalities, trying to figure out who had put in for money, who was receiving money, what types of projects were going to be coming down the pipe. Also, how they were going to bid, when they were going to bid. We had about 13 speakers come. They answered all of those types of questions, and then we also connected a website so that people could access that information for the future.
Many of these companies are relatively small, $8 to $12 million annual manufacturing, and they never sold outside the U.S., so we were able to establish export opportunities in Mexico, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina. So we've actually taken companies down there and helped establish either local distributorships or customers, and there's many success stories from that.
We get the calls who say, I am having a tough time right now. What do I do? Can you help us out? And that's the first introduction to what do you do? Where are you? Are you a part of the industry clusters? And we start to introduce them immediately to that schedule of meetings, to bring them in, to get them connected, to help them start that dialogue with others who understand their business. The Economic Development Corporation is there to connect people. We don't understand everybody's business, but we can connect people with those that do. It's in that connection now that they have somebody that they can make a statement to who'll say, yes, I went through that, and let me tell you how we dealt with that. That's the power, believe it or not, of that little connection is a huge, powerful connection if you're on the end of saying, I need somebody who can help me with this, and then be connected with that person through the RJI clusters. It's an amazing connection.
When you go and find yourself at a table with people that think like you, that are in the same industry as you, there is a dynamic that occurs that you're just going to want to be involved in.
The Regional Jobs Initiative is all about getting the private sector to engage and not being satisfied to let decisions be made, infrastructure decisions, spending decisions, without considering the impact on these target industry clusters. So, if you're frustrated with the way things are going or they're not going in your community, the best thing you can do is to get involved.
In the last year, the work by OSED and EDC and others, and the members of the cluster themselves, have radically increased the involvement and the things that we see out of it. I think that that's critical to have us in the kind of position that we need to be when the economic downturn turns up, which we think it is already beginning to do, and it positions us well for the next 5 to 10 years.
The Regional Jobs Initiative is a great tribute to this region, the fact that we have been able to come together to recognize that we're in this for the long term, but that we can point to successes now that have made a difference. And we need to stay focused and resilient as we move forward in continuing to look at how we can make the Regional Jobs Initiative even more effective.